Hi everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. Today we're going to be going over a Universal Studios Orlando, Florida planning guide. So before we get started, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and become a part of my magical friends. Let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, yes, we are going to be talking about all the things that you need to plan for a Universal Studios Orlando vacation. So we'll be talking about the hotels, the tickets, the merchandise, and the food and drinks. So before I get into it, I do want to make a disclaimer that, these prices can vary depending on the time of the year that you go, depending on how many people are in your party, if you're going as a solo trip, with family, friends, spouse, all of that. So those are going to be some other factors to consider when I'm talking about the prices, but I'll try to give some variables, but I won't be able to go over everything. So I'll give you a rough estimate when I'm going over pricing, but I know that pricing is very important on planning a trip, so I do want to disclose all of the information that I found. So let's go ahead and get started with the hotels. First topic we're going to go over is going to be the hotels. So there are so many to choose from in Orlando. I'm going to talk about the on-site Universal hotels, the off-site Universal hotels, and then the other ones that are not Universal related but are very close by to the Universal parks. So first we'll talk about the 4 on-site Universal hotels. So these are the ones that you can take the ferry boats to and from the park to your hotel. It's really nice and convenient. They are going to be the higher price point of the hotels to choose from, but they do have a lot of perks and benefits if you are going to go that route. So for the 4 hotels that you can choose from that are on site, you have the Hard Rock Hotel, the Portofino Hotel, the Royal Pacific Hotel, and the 4th one would be the Loews Sapphire Hotel. So I would say the main perk for getting a hotel on site would be the ferry boat. It's so fun and convenient to take. So you just get on the boat. I think they run about every 15 minutes. And you do have to get in line. Sometimes you miss it, so that would be something to factor in depending on how quickly you want to get to and from the park. But it is pretty quick because you just take a ferry boat to and from. You can walk. They are in walking distance as well, and they have pathways from your hotel all the way to the park, and they're like the scenic route for sure. But other than the ferry, you do get a early park admission, so you get into one of the parks 1 hour before general admission is allowed into the park, so that is nice. But that goes for all of the Universal hotels, even the ones that are not on site. And there's also another benefit for priority seating at select restaurants at Universal as well if you're staying at one of these hotels. So that is something to always ask if you're making some reservations, if they have priority seating because you are staying at the Hard Rock or the Portofino or something like that. The other huge benefit from booking one of these 4 hotels is that you get fast passes included for each day that you are staying at that hotel. This is going to be the biggest thing to consider for the biggest bang for your buck. So if you were going to purchase the fast passes, look into what it would cost per day, and then look at your hotel rate. So depending on the time of the year that you're going, these rates for these hotels usually average around $300 per night. So if you have a family of 4 going and you all are going to get fast passes, this is going to be included in your ticket price. So you have that to consider. So it might outweigh which hotel you're going to stay at when you consider that big price factor. And when considering getting this because of a fast passes generally value around $129. So if you're going to buy it anyways, you might as well stay at one of these hotels. That is just my opinion. But if you weren't going to buy it anyways, getting a fast pass doesn't matter. Making sure you get on all the rides isn't something that you're worried about. I would consider staying at one of the other Universal hotels that are just about 15-20 minute drive to and from the park. And they do offer bus shuttle services, so you don't have to worry about getting an Uber if you don't have a car, or renting a car. Then you don't have to worry about the transport from the hotel to the park. You do have that shuttle service, and those run about every 15 minutes as well. So that is something else to consider, and those are completely complimentary if you are staying at one of those hotels. And now the factors when considering staying at a Universal hotel. So there are quite a few benefits that you would receive. So staying at any of the Universal hotels, you are gonna get that early park admission. So you're gonna get in there 1 hour before general admission. 2, there's always gonna be a complimentary shuttle service, whether it is water taxi or bus or something like that, from the hotel to the park. And when you're taking one of these shuttle services, you don't have to worry about paying for parking because it does cost at least $22 to park at Universal. So that is a big saving if you're going for a few days as well, something else to factor in. If you're buying any merchandise at the park and you are staying there for a few days, you can get all of your merchandise delivered from the parks to your hotel room, so you don't have to worry about lugging them around, making sure they fit into lockers or anything like that. So that is such a great service. The park also offers getting your merchandise saved at the front of the park, so you don't have to worry about lugging it around either. And also another perk that you can use if you have a room key with Universal, you can actually charge things at the park with your room key, so you just charge it to the room. So that is also another option that you can use as well. So Universal considers their like on location hotels the ones that you can take the water taxi to and from. Those ones are considered their premium hotel and their premium prices. And then from there, you have your prime hotels. So those ones are the Cabana Bay and the Aventura Hotel. So those ones rates start at about $130 and go up from there. And those ones are kind of like off site of Universal, but still really close, like within 15 minutes or less, sometimes only like 5 minutes from the park. So that's really nice. And then they have their value hotels, which are Universal's Endless Summer Dockside and Surfside. So those are sister hotels that are like across the street from one another. I've stayed at both of those and I really love them. I've actually stayed at a bunch of these hotels. So for their premier hotels, I've stayed at the Portofino Hotel, and that one's so nice. It's really cute. It looks like Little Italy there. I love it. Definitely highly recommend it if you're gonna stay at one of those. And then for the prime hotels, I have not tried Ventura yet, but I have stayed at Cabana Bay, and I would recommend that one as well. It is super cute, but ever since they got their dockside ones, which is a better value, and I feel like you kind of get the same amenities, I actually prefer to stay at those just to save a little bit of money because the perks are basically the same. The pool setup and all of that is kind of different, but mainly when I go, I just kind of stay at the hotel and spend most of my time at the parks and not so much at like the pool and like hotel amenities. So then that would bring us to the value hotels, and I have stayed at both the Surfside and Dockside. They're both basically the same thing. The decorations are just a little bit different, but they both have like Starbucks down in their lobby, and they offer like some breakfast, not complimentary breakfast, but they have kind of like a buffet style area where you kind of grab and go and purchase it from there. You can get lunch. They're usually open all day long. And I know for Dockside they also have a bar. I don't remember if Surfside did, but yeah, so those are my experiences at the Universal hotels. The value hotels, about average starting price is around $91 a night. Now, if you want to stay at one of the off-site hotels that is not affiliate with Universal, there are so many to choose from. What I would recommend is just doing a quick Google search for hotels near Universal Orlando, and so many will pop up, and they're going to be all at different price ranges as well. One that I would recommend that I've personally stayed at is the Drury Inn. I really like that one because it has complimentary breakfast and they offer complimentary dinner if you can go in at the window of time that they're offering them. I think that's a great plus. They even offer like 2 adult beverages a night, which is really cool. So there's a lot of value in that as well. But their shuttle service from the hotel to Universal doesn't run as often as the Universal hotels. So you really would have to get in that window of when they're gonna be picking you up and getting there, so you don't have as much flexibility with that unless you are renting a car, ordering an Uber, or if you're driving yourself. You have those costs as well. And then if you are driving yourself or renting a car, then you have to consider paying for parking as well. So all those additional charges definitely can add up. So try to outweigh what is gonna be most beneficial for you and your trip and what's gonna work with your schedule and the party that you are with. Now, after talking about all of those hotels, if you ask me which one I would recommend staying at, I would definitely recommend either of the Endless Summer Hotel, whether that be Surfside or Dockside. I feel like you just get the most bang for your buck at those hotels and at those values. The only thing you're not gonna get that I would say you would wanna consider maybe bumping up to a different hotel is if you are looking for the fast pass, because that pricing difference would factor in for sure. But I normally don't go for a fast pass just because I go to Universal often and I've been on all the rides. But if this is like your one and only trip and you want to try to get on as many rides as possible, I would definitely consider getting a fast pass so you don't miss out on any of those opportunities on getting on any of the rides. But yeah, that's what I would recommend with the hotels. But that brings us into talking about the tickets. So let's go on to the next category. Right, now let's go ahead and talk about the tickets. If you've never been to Universal before, there are 2 parks once you get to Universal. There's Universal Studios, and then there is Islands of Adventure. So Universal's everything, but there is a Universal Studios side and then there's an Islands of Adventure side. So those are the 2 parks. So you can get a 1 park pass or you can get a 2 park pass. You can visit one day and then one another day. There are different prices for all of these options. They do have a 3rd park as well, which is their water park, but they're not connected. That one is a little bit separate, not too far away, but you would have to drive to get there or take a shuttle bus. So you could purchase a 3 park pass as well, depending on what you want to visit and what you want to see during your trip. If the Wizarding World is something that is your main focus, the 2 park for 1 day pass is definitely going to be something you want to look for, because if you want to ride the train, you have to have that ticket, because that train takes you from one park to the other and vice versa. And if you ride it one way versus the other, you do see a different show on the screens inside the train. So that is another tip. If you are going, try to get a ride both ways. But that's something that not everybody knows when they're purchasing a ticket, that you wouldn't be able to get on the train without getting that park to park pass. And there are other price points if you're going for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, or more. And if you are looking to visit for a few days, you can also consider getting an annual pass as well and looking at those price points, because if you're going for 4 or more days, you're kind of getting close to just getting an annual pass, and then you could always make another trip later down the year, or you can just take advantage of the discounts that you get when you have an annual pass, because you can get a percentage off of merchandise with some of the passes. So speaking of the annual passes, there are 4 different annual passes to choose from. So the first 2 are very similar. You have the seasonal pass and then you have the power pass. So both of those are gonna include a lot of blackout dates. The seasonal one is gonna have a lot more. Like July 1st all the way through July 31st is blacked out, so you cannot go the month of July. There are dates in December that you cannot go. And then the next one, the power pass, that one has dates in December that are blacked out. You also don't receive any discounts with either of these passes, and you also don't get free parking either. So I would definitely recommend going to the next one if you're gonna get an annual pass, which is gonna be the preferred pass, because you'll get a 10% off discount on most foods and merchandise, which is really nice and comes in handy. And then you also get free parking, and parking can be $22 per day. So that is a great savings right there when you consider getting that pass. So for the pricing for these 3, this seasonal pass starts at about $325. The Power Pass starts at $375, and the Preferred Pass starts at $440. So those are those 3, and then the 4th one is the Preferred Pass. So this one is going to have a lot of benefits, but it is going to have that highest price point as well, which starts at $640. But you are going to get a lot for that pass. I definitely recommend this one for someone who is more local to Universal. I'm even 3 hours away from Universal and don't have that pass because I don't feel like I'll use all of the benefits from it. So one of the biggest benefits is after 4 p.m. they can use their annual pass as an express pass, which is super awesome. With this pass, you don't have to stay at any of the hotels and you would get early park admission. Not only do you get free self-parking, but you also get free valet parking. And with valet, you get a spot way closer to the park, and the discount is 15% instead of that 10% that the Preferred Pass gets. They would get 15% off of most food and merchandise. And the last huge thing that you can get with the Preferred Pass is you get 1 Halloween Horror Nights pass with your pass included. So if you are going to that anyways, this is a good pass to get for that. I don't like scary things, so that's not something for me. So that's everything for the preferred pass. And then one more benefit for all of the passes is that you can get discounts on Universal hotels. So that is really nice, but that's everything that you need to know about annual passes. Now going back to just the tickets to get into either Universal or Islands of Adventure, if you are a Florida resident, you do get Florida resident discounts, so that is something to know. So that's kind of everything you need to know about just getting into the parks and those passes. And then if you want to get some of their extra things that you can add to your pass, like the Express Pass, there are two different options that you can consider. So there's either the Express Pass or the Express Unlimited Pass. So the Express Pass allows you to go through the Express line just one time per each ride. That offers Express. And then Unlimited means just that you can go through any of the lines, any of the rides, unlimited amount of times through that Express line. So those are the two options that you have. The Express Pass is gonna start around $90 per person per day. And then the Express Unlimited is gonna start at $120 per person per day. And don't forget that when I say starting at prices, it means that the prices can vary depending on the date that you select throughout the year that you are going. It can be more expensive on weekends, it can be more expensive during holidays, things like that. Definitely go on the website and select the dates that you're going so you can see your exact price. And then another extra that they offer is a photo pass. So any photo op that you see throughout the park, you see a team member holding a camera, you can get a picture with them, with your family or whoever you're with, and you can get a pass where you can get unlimited access to all of the photos taken throughout the day. And the price point for the photo pass starts at $70. And then also I want to mention that if you are going during Halloween Horror Nights, there is a different pass for that. So if you have an annual pass, doesn't necessarily mean that it is included with your pass. It's only for the preferred pass. So that does have its own ticket. There are limited restaurants open and rides open during those events as well. And the price point for that usually starts around $75. Now on to our food and beverage category. So for beverages, they do offer a souvenir cup that you can refill throughout the entire time you are there. Even if you come back later in the year on a different trip, you can bring back that souvenir cup and refill your drinks. And those cups usually start about $18 for the cup, and then you can get free refills at any of the Coca-Cola refillable areas. You'll kind of see them at most kiosks throughout the park. And then for the food, you have so many choices at Universal to pick from. So starting at some of the kiosks, so those are where we're gonna get some very quick snack. I don't know, you probably can hear a lawnmower. That's because my husband is mowing the lawn. So just ignore that. Back to the kiosk. So those are gonna be where you get like turkey legs, churros, you know, fruit cups, things like that, pretzels with cheese, and those are all gonna be around $10 or less. Not that much less. Maybe $8 to $12 for some of those. Turkey legs are probably more expensive. But those are gonna be very quick and on the go kind of foods to eat. Even popcorn is included in those. There's also a quick service kiosk area outside of Diagon Alley in the Universal Park. So that one is gonna offer some jacket potatoes, which is really good in my opinion. I feel like people like love them or hate them, but I really love them. So you get a baked potato, and then they have like shepherd's pie. You can just get loaded with cheese and sour cream. There's one that has broccoli and cheddar in it. They're so good. And those ones, the price versus the size and how quick you can get them, and you can eat them on the go. You can find a bench and eat them. I feel like it's a great bang for your buck. They're around $12. Then if you're looking for something a little more than just what's offered at those kiosks, you can get those quick service restaurants. So those ones, they have all throughout the park. They usually offer like burgers or pizza and fries and salads, and they're very quick. You usually order those, and then you go stand in another line with your tray, and you can pick up your food, and then you can get a place to sit down and eat it with whoever you are with. Even at the Wizarding World, they have their own version of their quick service restaurants, which is gonna be the Leaky Cauldron or the Three Broomsticks. It's that same style. They just have different stuff on their menu. They're gonna offer things like the fish and chips, shepherd's pie, they've got turkey legs, they've got chicken, breasts and thighs, all kinds of stuff. And then the prices for those usually range around $12 to like $25, depending on what you're gonna be ordering. but I do recommend looking ahead of time. You can look up a lot of these menus online and kind of budget out what you want to spend on food during your trip. And then that goes into the last one, which is going to be our like fine dining restaurants. Sometimes these are going to require a reservation in advance, so you definitely want to look into that as well going on your trip, especially if you're going to go in high volume dates like weekends, during holidays, summertime, Christmas time, those kinds of dates. So for fine dining, there is a restaurant called Mythos in Islands of Adventure. It's right before Hogsmeade, and that one is always going to need a reservation. It is one of the top rated theme park restaurants, so if you want to try that place out, definitely make a reservation so you can try them. And then there are some other ones inside the park. So on the Universal side, there is Finnegan's, which is going to be like your Irish pub themed food and restaurant. And there's also Lombard's Landing, which is a seafood restaurant at Universal. And for Finnegan's and Lombard's, I would just recommend, like, if you're going to the park early, you could even stop by and make a reservation for that day. Those ones don't necessarily always need like very much in advance. And then for the pricing for the fine dining restaurants, you're looking at about $16 and up. A lot of it averaging around in the $20 price range for your meal. So keep that in mind. And then if you're looking for exact prices, you can find a lot of these menus online as well. So those are some of the fine dining restaurants that you can find inside the parks that I would recommend. Then outside the parks, but still within Universal, in the City Walk area, there are a bunch of fine dining restaurants. And a lot of those you might want to get a reservation for as well, just depending on those dates and times that you were looking for and how big your party is as well. If you have a larger party, definitely make a reservation. But the couple places that I would highly recommend would be Bubba Gump's if you like seafood. It is so good. It's one of my favorites. I go there almost every time I go to Universal. And then there's the Hard Rock Cafe. That one has a lot of different foods to choose from like burgers, pasta. There is seafood on their menu as well. They have a lot to pick from, and the atmosphere is so cool. They have like movie props and things throughout the entire restaurant. So depending on where you sit, you might be by all kinds of different replicas, which is so cool to look at while you're enjoying your food. And even in City Walk, they have other places that are not fine dining. They have more quick service. They have Burger King, Panda Express, and other options to choose from if you're looking for a quick service. A little bit outside of the park, it's still within Universal. City Walk is still connected. So if you've never been to Universal before, when you come from the parking area or like shuttle service area, anything besides if you're on the on-site hotels, you have to come from this area. You get your bags checked, and then you would go right into City Walk, and you're going to be greeted with Bubba's right in the beginning, and then some other restaurants and stores. You've got the Universal store, then you've got Voodoo's Donuts, you've got a bunch of different restaurants, and then the opposite way, there's more stores and restaurants. There's even clubs and like bars and all kinds of stuff in City Walk. And then you go around and there's going to be Universal on one side and then Islands of Adventure on the other, so you can walk to and from both parks very easily. It's a lot of walking whenever you go to Universal, so be prepared for that. But enough of a tangent of like the park setup. Let's go into merchandise. All right, now for the merchandise category. This one is going to be pretty quick, but I do want to give a couple tips about planning to purchase some merchandise and budgeting for it. So my biggest tip is going to be know what you want to purchase before you get to the park, so you can budget for it and know exactly what you want, and you'll leave happy as well. So you can go on Universal's website. They do have a merchandise store. A lot of those things you can purchase on the website and get it shipped to you as well. So that's another option if you don't want to purchase while you're at the park. But there are going to be some things that are not on that website that you can purchase in the park. And I would just recommend following some Universal content creators, because a lot of them are going to be sharing a lot of the new merch that just got dropped at the parks. They'll give pricing information and all of that. Watching other people's vlogs and hauls from their trips at Universal, that's how I plan for a lot of my purchases. So that's what I would recommend for you if you're kind of planning out what budget you need to save for to purchase any merchandise that you're going to want while you're at the parks. And then my other tips are, if you do have an annual pass, you are going to be able to save some money. So the preferred pass is going to save you 10% off of any merchandise purchases, and then the premium pass is going to save you 15%. And then my very last tip for the merchandise category is that there are clearance sections at Universal. So whether you're at the Universal Studio side or Islands of Adventure, right before you're leaving, I think one of them is called That's a Wrap or It's a Wrap, something like that. They both have their names, but there's a lot of clearance merchandise in that area. So they've got Wizarding World merchandise, they've got all the other fandoms as well in there, and you can just look at the ticket. They'll have a sticker on there what the discounted price, and you'll be able to see the regular price. And that's where I always check before I leave the parks, just in case I can find a great savings. You never know what's going to be in there. I will be leaving some helpful links down in my description box below. A lot of them that I used to make today's video that can help you plan your Universal trip. And if you are planning one soon, I hope you have a wonderful time. Definitely wear comfortable shoes, and sunscreen can be your best friend. You don't realize how bad you can get burned while you're at the park. But that is going to wrap up today's Universal planning guide. Definitely let me know if you have any other questions in my comment section down below. But as always, if you liked today's video, please give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your bell notification so you're notified during my next video upload. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye!